I actually don't know what to do. What kind of steps am I supposed to take from this? Everything just seems difficult, to be honest. Alright. For those who don't know, I want to make a bloody cooking robot. A robot, you know that robot that can go in the kitchen, cook for you, or cook for me, more specifically, and boom, there is a meal there. I can eat it, no problem, and it can take care of everything else. I mean, that idea really does entertain me as hell. Like, I just want that. I want to be living in that world where there is that. But what better way to try to bring that world closer than if I stand up and actually do it? That's what I did. Unfortunately, there is a lot of problems with it. And that problem is what you see there. A bloody failing robot. I kinda don't know what to do. Maybe the best way I could probably talk about it is by breaking down the problems that I have actually experienced. Alright. Yeah, actually, that's a good way to digest it. So, first off, I bought an Ender 3, which was pretty good, okay? It was pretty good having something like that around here. So I bought it, I assembled it, and I started 3D printing it that day, actually. Now, obviously, there was a lot to learn about 3D printing. So I had to gain some knowledge about that and started to 3D print it. These are some of my very first prints. So you can see it's all stringy and yeah, it's like all of this. These were just the problems that I was having. If you can see there how it's not smooth. Anyway, those are just some of the many problems that I experienced while, attempting to try to print something properly. It took me quite a while to actually print something to this level of magnitude. This is like a proper print. Obviously it has its own problems, but yeah. So that was the first challenge. The second challenge was, okay, I bought the motors and everything. I needed a hedge bridge, and it's basically something that was gonna allow me to, well, control the motors. It was something like this. This, by the way, it's an Arduino hedge bridge. It's called Servant Motor Controller Module. Anyway, so this is what it is. I have a Raspberry Pi. That's an Arduino. The problem was very simple. I needed something to control the motors using a Raspberry Pi. And because this guy, or this controller, was very compact, I was gonna use that. So I got it, I brought it here. I started integrating everything together, but there was a problem. It could not really take signals from a Raspberry Pi and immediately control the motors. There was the complications with it, I can't remember exactly. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's what happened. It took me almost like 2 weeks to try to resolve this. Now, I did not end up actually making it work, but I just ended up buying another hedge bridge. And this was a different kind, which was a Raspberry Pi compatible. And yeah, that ended up working. Literally half an hour later. This is the kind of things that makes me like, what the hell is this? Half an hour. It literally took from the time I went to buy it to the time I actually get everything to work. I have literally surpassed all the progress combined for the last 2 weeks that I've been trying to make that bloody hedge bridge controller. That was, I don't know, a mind-blowing and such a disappointment. And there was another problem coupled with that. Because I had already designed the container, that was gonna house everything, like the motors, the Raspberry Pi, and other components. I only made it to be specifically sized with this little guy. Like the dimension of the housing of it was around here. But once I introduced the other H-bridge controller, it was much bigger than that. And I had to literally stuff everything in there, like literally pushed everything in there and bind them together. Yeah, and unfortunately, it took me a long time to just do that. So, and especially given the fact that I will notice there was something wrong inside there, like some wires were loose or something went wrong, I had to undo everything and then redo it. That took so long. The other problem has to do with the string. The bloody string. I didn't know this was even gonna be a problem. But for some reason, that nylon string, it makes its own knots. It somehow coils up on its own, and it's so hard to get it uncoiled. It wrinkles, it does everything, and oh man, that was a nightmare. A big nightmare. Like, I hated doing that. And given the fact that I had to push everything in there, it just made it difficult. The next problem had to do with the sensor. Like these sensors, these are IMUs. They are basically able to give you the motion of whether they have been rotated or whether they have moved, that kind of thing. They're able to give you all of those signals. Now, unfortunately, there is one simple little thing about those sensors, is that they have a lot of noise in them, as in electrical noise, not like no, they have like electrical noise. Meaning, if you're trying to read a value, let's say you're trying to read like how much a robot has moved, you always get these false positives, like the robot has moved, but you know, if you're relying on the sensor to tell you how much the robot has moved, and it gives up giving you false positive alarms, you eventually end up not actually understanding the position of how much the robot has actually moved. And that was my problem. And unfortunately, given the fact that I was running with DC motors, which are basically inaccurate, okay? They were the wrong kind of motors to use on this project to begin with. But they were the cheapest things that I could kind of afford on this at this time for this prototype. I needed a very good sensor that could definitely tell me how much the robot has tilted, so I can readjust on every motor and give it the different amount of power to kind of try to balance it correctly, right? But since the sensors, or that sensor, not particularly this sensor, pretty much all sensors like that in general, especially that small, that are within that price range, this costed me like $20 something. So yeah, they are pretty much, they have a lot of noises, okay? And they gave me wrong signals, and I couldn't really get the robot stabilized. And ultimately, if the robot cannot stabilize, I can't really move a particular direction. And that's the problem. You see, the one thing I noticed is that in order for me to move this robot at all, every single motor on it had to actually be engaged, such that, for example, let's say it's moving forward. This will be two motors at the front, the ones that are moving forward. They need to be winding up, and simultaneously, the back motors gotta be unwinding. They have to be doing this at a very exact time if I actually want to move forward without tilting, without doing anything. And wow. But because those sensors can't give me the accurate position of the robot, I am very much unable to tell anything. Hence, the big problem. The problem in which I can't figure out. So I need a way to be able to detect the movement of the robot. I need to be able to tell exactly how much the robot has moved in order for me to even get anywhere with this. But I cannot afford those expensive sensors. And by the sensors that I'm talking about, it's like a motion tracking system. So I will need something close to that. to get this working. And that's where the problem is. This is what concluded me to, in a way, giving up. Yep, yeah, I gave up. But I'm kind of sick of giving up. As in, it has been like, what, 5 months or so? So, what I'm gonna do is I need a new plan. It's still a problem, okay? I still need to make a robot that can cook. I mean, why the hell not? I mean, why not? What better thing can I spend my time on other than making this robot? It's that simple. So I need a new plan. A plan that will give me some type of guidance to how I am going to make like this robot a reality. I don't know about you, but I do dream some days being miles away from my house and just having to tap on my phone, but by the time I get home I have, like, for example, an Italian class meal ready for me. I don't know about you, but I really like that future. And I guess that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Try to come up with a plan that will make that a reality someday in the future. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Anyway, let's make this happen.